Hej, jag börjar på svenska här. Vi ska övergå till engelska sen. Jag heter Anders Wollbäck och jag är till vardags låtskrivare och producent. Sen sitter jag i ett antal styrelser också, bland annat då SKAP och som skapsrepresentant i STIM där jag är suppleant och sen så i Export Music Sweden där jag är ordförande just nu som STIMs representant och även en kommitté i det här ICE-bolaget som är ett joint venture mellan STIM och EMA i Tyskland och Galas Music i England. Och jag har fått det stora nöjet här att vara vikarierande Jesper för att det var han som skulle hålla alltså, som är vd i Export Music Sweden och han är i Kanada just nu så då fick jag träda in och vi ska då tala lite grann om det så Galas, Expos and Fairs. Det är alltså det här att göra med showcasefestivaler till exempel och manifestgalan, sådana saker, Expos, hur man marknadsför artister. Och programförklaringen är så här att, nu övergår jag till engelska då, att what kind of responsibilities these events have and how do they act as culture bearers and how can they act as platforms for international collaborations. And first I'd like to introduce the very beautiful, I think this panel is the most beautiful of them all. Don't you think so too? And I would like for them to present themselves. And first we have Liisa Nasir Turunen from Finland.
Hello everybody. Hi. Yes, I don't know so much about expos and fairs, but I work as a lecturer at Swedish-speaking university in Helsinki. That's my day work. And then I work really closely with a Finnish former punk band called Pertti Kurikan Nimipäivät. If there is people who knows them?
Of course.
Of course. Yes. Yes.
If you haven't heard them, go check them out.
Go check them out. Okay. They stopped playing for 3 years ago and they were thinking what's the next step? And their next step were to build a company called Pertti's Choice, which is basically becoming a management and booking agency, and they also have a store where they sell their vinyls, their merch, they have a gallery and so on. So I'm kind of consulting them.
Tobbe?
Yes, Tobbe Andersson from Örebro, Sweden, and I run a punk label since way back called Swatch Productions, which is also since half a year back or something a proud parent of an electronic underlabel called Subnordic. And I was called in also like yesterday or something, so it's going to be interesting. I have a lot of views on these things, but I've never really organized any shows or showcases, but attended many.
Jesper?
Yes, hello. My name is Jesper Martel. I'm from Aarhus in Denmark. I run a couple of networks. We have a local one called Promos, which I run. We have a music business network in the city called Music City Aarhus. And I was co-initiator of an international music city network called Music Cities Network, which features 7 cities: Bergen, Aarhus, Hamburg, Berlin, Nantes, Groningen, and Sydney in Australia. And on top of that, I'm the conference organizer for the Spot Plus conference, which is under the Spot Festival in Aarhus, which is, I think, gotta be the oldest showcase festival in Scandinavia. At least it's our 25th edition this year, so thank you very much, Claes.
And before we get into the heavy stuff, I mean, we work with music, don't we, everybody? So I would just like to ask you, what is the most epic, mind-blowing moment you have experienced during a expo or showcase? It is hard.
And you ask me?
Yes.
I already told you when Pertti Kurikan Nimipäivät was in European Song Contest.
Okay.
That was really a mind-blowing moment.
That was fantastic.
Yes, that was fantastic.
Yeah, you reminded me of that one. That was I didn't see it live, but I saw it on the TV. It was a super mind-blowing experience. Otherwise, that's so hard. The more I think, the more pops up. I would say the first time I saw Viagra Boys live at Where's the Music in Norrköping.
Well, I've had a lot of epic moments, I must admit, throughout my 35 years career. But when you talk about the showcase festivals experiences, I would say, I must admit that the Eurosonic Festival in Groningen is maybe that festival who has, because the point with that festival is that it's the first in the season, so to speak. It just 4 weeks ago, it was this year's edition. And they've sort of always been able to catch and curate these new names, which will be big in 6 months. So that is one of the funny things about going to Eurosonic. You can actually see an artist at a venue this size with the audience amount of this size, and the same summer they will play complete sold-out festivals. So that has happened. So that's a funny little experience going to these festivals.
And the showcase yesterday was amazing, I say, also. Okay. I mean, some of these events, like Jazz Ahead, Womex, Amsterdam Dance Event, etc., are more specific when it comes to the genre, and some are more general. What do you would you like to expand on? What do you think the more general or more specific events are the best, and how, as an artist or record label, do you choose between these events? Would you like to?
Yeah, I can start. I always like to do everything very niche pointed, so I would say it's a very good thing. I would rather choose to go to something that have a specific genre or specific, even usually it's smaller, but then it's quality, not quantity. So absolutely, the niche is important if I would choose.
Yes, the niche is probably something you would choose nowadays, because there are so many. There are so many showcase festivals with mainstream and with bigger brands and bigger bands as well. So, but I don't know. Now when I'm working with these former Pertti Kurikan nimipäivät guys, so actually I started to think, because they do punk mainly, and they have some really artsy stuff going on as well, and then one of them is having an own reggae band, and I started to ask them, okay, if we go abroad, where do you want to go? And they say Eurosonic, because they've been there with Pertti Kurikan nimipäivät, and that wasn't Pertti or the guy with the reggae band who said that. It was Sami Helle, who is the bass player, because he has this really avant-garde thing going on, and he thought that, why can't I go there? Because I had such a nice time there. So I started to think, why not? So actually, I think the bigger showcase festival should probably have more mixed, I think.
Also, I would say also because, I mean, the audience today is not that divided. I mean, it's a lot more diverse when we talk about a music program. I mean, as you said, Jazz Ahead in Bremen and Womex and Amsterdam Dance Event makes sense because they are really targeted on a specific genre. But I think curation here is key when we talk about sort of the other showcase festivals, that you really are trying your best to do a high-level program and not being, I mean, some of these festivals, I won't name names, where you can buy your own showcase slot. I don't think that works when we talk about the whole idea of having a showcase festival. Then it will become a sort of a different thing, which can be okay. But I, as a consumer, or I, as a music business professional, want to attend these festivals because a little bit like going to a venue. I mean, I go to this venue, maybe this, because I know the program is great. At Spot Festival, I'm not trying to do cheap promotion here, but we do not promote the bands or the lineup in the posters because it's not. Nobody will know them anyway because it's so new and fresh and upcoming. So again, Spot acts as a mindset, as a guideline for programming. But maybe you can have genre festivals, and maybe, as I said before, it will make sense within different or certain genres. But I think these festivals should be diverse. They should be. You should see and experience music from many different levels. That's the point in my book, at least.
And you should include instead of
exactly.
Exclude.
Yes. And talking about including, I mean, this panel is also a bit about cultural politics, and I'd like to ask you, in what ways does these events promote culture, and do they have a responsibility to promote diversity when it comes to age, gender, etc.? Difficult question, but...
Well, to some extent, yes, because a lot of the discussion about gender equality, for instance, a lot of people have pointed at the showcase festivals, since a lot of the showcase festivals are not commercially dependent. I mean, if you have a more normal festival, you have a headline and you have names under the headlines, etc. You have to sell tickets. Obviously, a showcase festival has to sell tickets as well, but it's not the main thing about a showcase festival. Obviously, you should have a healthy economy, but having said that, I mean, when you have that paradigm, so to speak, you could say that these festivals should have a larger responsibility of gender equality, for instance. Maybe it's right. I would say yes, because you're not that dependent on selling tickets on the names you present.
Yeah, then it's my favorite subject again, the funding from government or other official funds, not only with money, but then of course it's a responsibility from, for example, the government to actually help out to keep the quality and make the possibilities for artists to show themselves and also have a very diverse both on stage and off stage, I would say.
Also very dear topic for me. I also ran together with Patrick, who is sitting there, a festival or gala, Femma Gala in Finland, which is a little bit smaller than Manifest Gala, but quite safe. And we were actually really heavily criticized for, was it 3 years ago? Yes. Yeah, 3 years ago, because we only had males on stage, males in the jury, males everywhere. Yeah, so it was, and we didn't think of that. We didn't saw it. Because we were music. Music was the main thing. And then there was like a year after, there was this really big discussion in Finnish media about female artists not being able to earn money with doing their music, and that started a really big things there. So and it actually started before Me Too campaign. So now we have this thinking or mindset or something to have at least 50-50, somehow 50-50, which is good.
Toba, you talked a bit about the financing, which is of course a very interesting question here, and I'd also like to ask you, how do you arrange the financing of a festival or showcase or an expo, and where does it come from? Do you think that grants from the government are easy to get, and do you get enough money from the grants? And Also, since we have 3 Nordic countries represented here, it would be interesting to hear what the differences is between Denmark and Finland and Sweden in this respect.
I can start. Spot Festival is financed by money from the state, cultural department of the state, and the local council, and a lot of money comes also from the various music organizations in Denmark, and there's some sponsorships as well, and then ticket sales. That's basically it. The challenge here is that you have to apply almost every year to get the funding. Not from the city, because from the city it's a 4-year term. They know how much funding they will get for 4 years, but I think they need to apply from the state every year, and so you'll never know. So this insecurity about having your funding in place in time is always there. So obviously, and hopefully in the future, we could have a better, or at least, I mean, better funding is always nice, but I think it's also very important to even know if you have the funding or not.
I think that's a problem in Sweden too. Fred Dunn spoke about that earlier in the panel, that he said something about having maybe a 10-year project time, because you cannot know in 1 year it could be a bad year, and then so that's one of the things. And also I would say it's in Sweden we don't have so much funding from the state to get. It's Kulturrådet is pretty much what it is.
It's better in both Finland and Denmark, I believe.
And also one of the problems I run into, especially in regional funding when I do things, if I say that I'm going to do a music thing, they're going to say, the business side is going to say, no, you have to go to the culture department to get the money. I go to the culture department and say, I work with a label and I want to do a festival or whatever. Oh, that's business, you should go to the business. And then I'm stuck in between.
Catch-22.
Can I add something to that, just briefly? Because when the festival applies money from the state, they have to emphasize that the whole purpose of the festival is talent development. And when they apply for money from the city, they have to emphasize that this is a business network development project. So that's the difference.
I think in Finland it works pretty much like in Denmark. Almost all the mainstream festivals, I would say all the mainstream festivals, or the big festivals, summer festivals in Finland, they got quite good funding from the state and also from cities. But they also have to apply it once a year, so every year. And it's always based on last year's result. So, as you said, like if it's a bad year, then you get less grant. So it's basically the same. But it's a bit better than in Sweden, I think.
Okay, thank you. And then when it comes to the international networking, what are your views on that? What is the best way to facilitate international networking at these types of events? And changing page here. Are there ways to collaborate between events in different countries to promote economy of scale, so we can save money and not do the same? You do the same thing at several different festivals, maybe by marketing or something like that. What are your views on that?
Well, I think it's the reason, or one of the reasons why a Spot Festival has developed over the years is obviously this more focus on music export. And a lot of money has been spent on supporting bands going out, making showcases around Europe and even in the States. And they found out that maybe it was a better idea to invite these music business people or music business medias from the international circuit to Aarhus once a year, and to experience the bands in their own surroundings, so to speak. The festival is not that big. It holds 8,000 in the audience, and it's I think it's 38 venues or stages around. So you can walk around. So it's pretty intimate. So everybody can get around and have their experience. So I think that has become a very important tool when we're talking about music export and the whole side of creating and facilitating and networking opportunities, which is the part that I'm doing, promoting and producing the conference. That aims a lot on creating networking opportunities. We do a lot of activities around that. So that has become, it's become very important, not only for the Danish music business. We can see people coming in from many more countries now, to not as invited guests to buy music, but even to take part of the festival. So it's pretty important, yes.
Yes, I don't know. I saw that you write something, a bad word. Yes, both yes and no. I don't know, business-wise, because we already exchange bands, we exchange technology, we exchange humans, I mean knowledge. But when it comes to the business, that's a little bit trickier, because then you really need to have these big international companies who somehow manages let's say a festival in Finland and a festival in Sweden and Denmark, and then it's top managed, and that's not good. So that's maybe a not, but otherwise, of course, exchange. That's always, and collaboration. Everybody wants to collaborate, but still, here I would say again, to include. That's probably the most important thing. How you can cooperate, I think.
Yeah, I'm gonna start with the word here, the I word. No, I'm not gonna say the name of the festival, but one festival that I send bands to is a member of something called INES, which is a European network of festivals. And I think what I hear positive from bands is they are a part of INES. So then when we play this festival, we're probably going to play the other festivals too, which is a good thing. But the quality of this festival has been going down, because now they have the EU funding and feel like, yeah, it's a good network, we don't have to do so much work. Now we can just send the bands around on a fucking endless loop. And so it's pretty good sometimes for the bands, but it's also a bad thing that can happen. But otherwise, networking, of course, is good.
Yeah, and also we can add a little an extra activity to these festivals, because as I mentioned before, we co-initiated this Music Cities network, and it's not a coincidence that it's cities like Aarhus, Bergen, Groningen, and Hamburg, because they all have major showcase festivals. And that is one thing we have developed now, that we can have our own presentation during these festivals. They are officially curated by these festivals. We had in Reeperbahn last year, we've had it at Spot a couple of years now. We had it in Groningen this year, and we hope to open in Bergen this year as well. So we will have a year-round circuit starting at Eurosonic, going into Spot, going into Reeperbahn, and ending up at Bergen. That's what we're working on right now. So that's a side project within the network we're working in.
I mean, the focus here isn't really on the artist side of the participation in these types of events, but I'm really interested anyway in your views about participation here. And my question is then, at what point in their career is it best for an artist to attend a showcase or an expo here, festival? I mean, before signing to a label or after? And what are your general thoughts when it comes to the participation in an event, and the best way to promote an act before and after to make the right people show up and make the showcase effective?
We have a term we call, are the bands export ready? That's what we use as a term for that, because if you are sending a band to a showcase festival, first of all, you have to be prepared, and you have to have skilled staff around you. Even though you're an upcoming act, you need to have people, you need to have feet on the ground, so to speak. So, I mean, the band has to be, obviously the songs has to be there, which is a whole other discussion. But if we take it from that business point of view again, I would say that they have to be. They need to work for this, and they need to show that they can work on an international level before supporting and sending a band to a showcase festival, because otherwise it's what we call music tourism, and it doesn't work.
Do you have the same view?
Yeah, I would say that is sometimes a problem when people are actually allowed onto a showcase stage too early, and that's I think that wasn't the question somewhere in the beginning, responsibility. And that's very much up to the festival to actually maybe feel how serious is.
But then again, it can be different because things has changed so much. You can check their Spotify profile, for instance. You can have bands having a hit with millions of streams, but not able to perform at all. So it's really a challenge how things. Yeah, not accusing Spotify, but things has changed. Everything goes so fast. It's on tracks right now. So you need to have some kind of security that the bands or the artists really can perform. And as I said before, they need to have people supporting them. Otherwise, it won't make any sense.
There are also quite many artists who are actually participating, like 5-6 showcases per year. Same artists this year, next year, year after. And why is that? So I don't know. Well, I'm not saying it's Spot Festival is doing that, but I know
never.
But I know there are lots of showcase festivals in the world who actually are somehow using the artists. You know, that's doesn't cost you much.
But that's again, as I said earlier, down to curation.
Yeah, true.
That's why you need to have a very strict curation.
True.
I think we have a couple of minutes left, right? Does anyone have the time? 2 minutes. Then I'd really like to open the floor for any questions here.